and welcome to Mead Gaming's podcast. I'm your host Jay, and today I am joined by
John
and Al.
Hi guys, thank you very much for joining me.
Thank you.
So, following on from the last 3 weeks or so of recordings and podcasts, we have now finished our foray into custom units, rules, additions, modifications, all of that jazz. So we're going to move on to some slightly more traditional topics now.
Traditional for us.
Traditional for us, yeah. One could say really traditional for us would be going game shows, but those haven't tracked well yet so far.
No, that's fair.
Hopefully one day we'll bring those back though, because they were good fun.
I like them.
Yeah,
Anyway.
I enjoyed them.
But that could be in the future.
Just for us.
Just for us. But for today's episode, we are going to be looking at choosing your army, primarily through the lens of Legions Imperialis, but hopefully some of the things we're going to discuss will translate to whatever game you're playing, whether that's Warhammer, Age of Sigmar, 40k, Kill Team, or something that's not related to Warhammer at all. So we're going to be looking at things like lore, playstyle, models, the gut feeling, anything that kind of inspires you to create an army. So that's kind of the project for today. And as usual, we're going to be going through our 3 phases of the show. So that will be our Tankard Talk, where we discuss hobby, the main discussion, which I've just outlined, and then we'll also round everything up at the end. Okay?
Exciting.
All good. Right. So, without rambling on anymore, shall we head straight over to Tankard Talk?
Let's get some tankards and do some talking.
All right. See you in a minute.
See you there.
And welcome back. So, we have entered into the realm of the Tankard Talk. I'm being slow on the draw there. Everyone else has jumped straight on it.
You were doing the talking. You're excused.
Yeah. So, Tankard Talk. We're going to have a look at some stuff that we've been up to in the last week or so. We don't have any new bits from the community at the moment, which is a shame. So, if you are watching and you do some hobby, send us some pictures. But with that in mind, shall we have a look at what we have been up to this week? And I believe you're up first, John, I think.
Okay.
Let's find out. Yes, it is. Yes.
Hey!
Ooh.
So, John, what on earth is this? He says, not knowing exactly what it is.
So these are this is half of the new box of Kill Team that came out relatively recently. These are the Goremongers to go with the Sanctifiers from the Blood and Zeal box, because the words are just fun to say in that particular one. They're essentially the team. If you I appreciate that you haven't been keeping up with Kill Team. I don't want to be like, I'm going to tell you all about this thing that you already know about.
No, I haven't, although I am aware of what these are and bits and pieces. Like, for example, I know that these are usable in the World Eaters Codex now.
They are usable in the World Eaters Codex. This isn't I'm planning to get World Eaters. This is these just look really these just look really fun. Do you know anything about like the lore of them at all?
No, I don't know any of the lore related to these guys. I'm assuming they must have some kind of link to the Jackals, I'm guessing.
They're kind of like, as far as I can tell, they're like a bit kind of higher than like the Jackals in terms of not necessarily rank, but standing. The bit of lore that I particularly appreciate with these guys is they're essentially Jackals that saw hold on, let me get the right one. Blood letter, like the standard foot tree.
Yeah, blood letter.
They saw a blood letter and were like, "Oh my god, this is what demons of Khorne look like. We need to make ourselves demons of Khorne."
That explains the cyber legs.
So the first thing they do is they're like, we're gonna cut off our legs and give ourselves digidegrade legs.
Yep, that makes sense.
So they all have these like very very fun like dynamic poses. It's like everybody's like jumping off of things, or like they're very active poses. It's a really nice set of sculpts. And they've got these like big blood tanks on their back, because mechanically in game the whole system is around they gain blood and they spend blood to do things. And they can even choose to, you can gain blood from your own blood, and if you don't kill somebody before that point, you essentially just do damage to yourself because you've used that blood, you haven't replaced it.
Okay.
So they are super on theme for blood.
They love Halloween.
They love Halloween. So yeah, so this is them in their kind of essentially the Zenithal stage. I was trying to do something a little bit different with these guys.
To be fair, they almost look tabletop ready, just like that.
You're not the first person to say that, and it kind of hurts. Do I just leave it like this now?
I mean,
I had a colour scheme in mind. It is a very strong style. We've got some pictures of the of how they're going to look.
Indeed.
So yeah, so this is a work in progress guy. The vibe that I'm trying to go with on the skin of this one is a very the best way I can kind of think of what I was trying to go with is a pale kind of blue skin effect, because they're gonna get all the blood spatter, and I was like, if I can get a almost white pale blue kind of skin that still looks human skin, but is this weird kind of pale white effect, because it's the Imperium, weird things happen to people, and then get that with some nice blood flicks across it. I thought that would look like a really nice contrast kind of against it.
Yeah, that's reasonable.
Although so I showed my partner this one as a work in progress, and they were like, you should just leave it like this. This is how it should be. And I'm like, but I had ideas of where it was going to go next.
He looks like he's a little bit naked. Is that just he's just wearing shorts. That makes sense. Yeah.
Shorts and it's a leather top at different angles. It's essentially just straps that come down there, one strap across the chest, and just bare exposed skin everywhere.
Oh dear.
Yeah, they have what is loosely described as a t-shirt save at best. They're a 5-up save, but they do have a very, because they're obviously they're a melee team.
Yeah.
Rules wise, they're very super focused on they're good in melee. They cannot take more than 8. So they have 10 wounds overall. They cannot take more than 8 damage in a single shooting action. So it means that you have to super commit to trying to kill them in shooting. By most of the time, factions only get to shoot once, unless they're Marines. They get to shoot twice, and some have special ploys that let them shoot twice. This means you are committing at least 2 rounds of shooting to one model, because they just can't be killed in shooting. And they all come with auto pistols, which are essentially incidental. But the way more fun thing you can do is you can take as an optional piece of equipment. They can use the chain, all the weapons are obviously chained to them as peak World Eater style. They can just spin that weapon that he's holding with 2 hands as a ranged weapon.
Okay.
So it's not it's only within essentially 2 inches around the model, so it's small scale, but it's a ranged weapon. They just swing that axe around the head and just start wildly going for it.
That sounds pretty mental. He also doesn't. It doesn't really look almost physically capable of doing that. Although you can see muscle definition in the arm, it's not much of an arm.
Don't question it. It's fine.
Take my strong hand.
The next one can also do the same thing, and that weapon is even longer. This one is technically meant to be a bigger weapon, but
is the next one the bigger one?
This is the standard troop.
Mm-hmm.
This is the kind of the finished paint scheme for it.
Does look very cool.
He's giving me Atlas vibes, holding the world on his shoulders.
Yeah,
the pose is giving me that kind of vibe. I like that.
He's definitely going to try and bring the entire world of hurt down on whoever's getting the receiving end of that chain glaive.
Yeah. It's an interesting pose for a glaive. I don't typically see someone overhanding with a glaive.
Yeah, don't, again, like most things, don't think about it.
I feel like if that was me, I'd be like snipping that off and reversing it. So it's more like a spear throw.
Yeah. I mean, that would be a pain, though, with the chain, like, rearranging stuff. I kind of think it's fun, in a while they're just, like, overhead swinging this. They're coming down on somebody. It would also work very well as a spear. And maybe if I get another box of them, I'll flip one round. But as it stands,
I mean, I'm sure elves must be loving that because that's a very Night Lord's weapon.
I do love a chain glaive. Yeah.
they would be great in Night Lord's, like in a Night Lord style.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They'd be quite cool as like a Night Lord's lesser infantry.
Yeah. It was. I mean, it's one of the weapons that they used the most. They had a lot of at hand, so it makes sense.
Oh yeah, you could 100% like do like some kind of like Nostraman, like
cultist
team out of them. Yeah, like a bunch of Night Lord's cultists.
Yeah.
They're like most of the way there. You just want to like remove anything that is obviously Khorne, maybe. So the thing with the paint scheme that's going on is obviously quite a lot of muted colours is what I was going for. But the legs I've done in red. They're essentially painted up with the idea being is that they painted up these legs to make themselves look more like blood letters. But then I've gone in and like dry brushed some silver around to essentially be like the paint chipping away where they're just like constantly fighting stuff.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I like the idea actually. Red metallic legs to mimic the demon.
Yeah.
Works. Very nice. Now there is one more thing from you, I believe, which I would consider a little bit more promising. Which are these little dudes?
Yeah.
Oh, who are these guys?
This is part of what I will loosely describe as. Hold on, I'm just going to get it for the camera. There's no point in taking this picture, but part of the pile.
Oh, hang on. Let's go to a full cam.
just a handful of infantry. That's not even all of them. This is just the handful that I can obtain. Who are all in that state.
Right. So this is what's it called? Primed and based.
So this is primed, dry brushed. Every single one.
Why would you dry brush them?
Because I couldn't get the effect with the spray. Well, ignore that. I set myself up for failure. And then all washed. So the next thing is they just need the guns in red and black, and then they're done. And like shoulders on the sergeants and stuff like that. But the bases are all printed now. So they are good to go. With the little magnet inserts in the bottoms that are going to be nice and easy to transport. And I've got like obviously the basic material ready to go. The little plates that they're on are going to be an absolute pain. I might just stick them directly down. I was going to go in like with a bit of sanding paper and like sand them all down.
Don't do that.
But I was thinking and I was like, no, I'm just going to glue them straight on.
I've got some for that. Like that for the Night Lords and for the Alpha Legion to do. The Alpha Legion one, I'm just going to put a little bit of extra PVA on, dunk them in, done. With these Night Lords ones, they're all it's all got a texture paste, so I'm just going to pop a bit of texture paste over to bridge the gap.
Yeah. They're ongoing. I did end up along with the bases. Sorry, just to bring the camera back around again. This is the to be washed and then desprued, which is basically the missing command infantry.
Right.
So where I don't quite have enough for like some of the command squads, I basically just chucked a few more things on for those command squads. So infantry are on their way, and then once all the infantry's done, then I can actually start on the fun bit, which is the vehicles, or the more fun bit.
Just out of interest, what's the base count for infantry? Roughly.
Probably about maybe 30 or 40.
Okay. Is that just bolter boys, or are we talking other stuff in there?
It's a mix of bolter boys, missile boys, and assault.
Okay.
Probably leaning heavy. It's probably, maybe it's more than 40. It's actually probably more than 40. I don't actually know how many I have now. Okay. I'm just like running the numbers in my head, because there's probably, I think I did 20 odd bases just for jump assault, because I was going to do them in like whatever what's the max size you can take in a Thunderhawk?
In a Thunderhawk, 8.
Oh, okay. So then there's 16 just jump assault, and a pile of missile guys, and a pile of plasma guys, and a pile of bolter. I'd probably say the bolter is the fewest.
I'm getting a hint here that there's at least 2 Thunderhawks going to be added.
Yeah.
I need to hurry up and get my planes painted.
They're just a couple of Thunderhawks. They're just dropping off some guys. That's all they're doing. They're just flying. They're just gonna swoop in, drop off some people, and then
ignore the volcano cannon on the spine.
That's just a carry handle. That's how I transport the model, right?
Yeah. Okay.
So yeah. Okay. There's going to be in terms of aerial assets, there is going to be 2 Thunderhawks, and there is going to be a few Land Raiders as well. Nice. I know Land Raiders don't fly. Sorry, I realised I grouped those up with the aerial assets. No. The Land Raiders are good.
I assume you meant transport when you said that.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're on the ground. They're filled with Terminators.
Okay, Terminators and Land Raiders.
I know you can just drop them in, but I was the risk of my roll going horribly and Terminators ending up phased into a wall or something like that. I wasn't going to risk it. The one time I have taken Terminators and did that, I lost basically the entire squad. Sorry, the entire detachment. This was in Epic, original Epic Armageddon. I went to drop a load of Terminators in, and of the squad of the formation of 6 Terminators, one squad hit the ground, and all the rest just were lost in the translocation.
Oh, okay.
It was not a good set of rolls that day.
That's not a good set of rolls.
No.
Thankfully, Ally is a little bit more forgiving, but yeah.
Yeah, I thought Terminator bricks in Land Raiders could be quite a fun little combo piece.
Could be interesting. We haven't tested that on our end yet, because the Land Raiders tend to get filled with other things, but
there is plenty of things to fill the Land Raiders with. I've got rhinos to stick them in as well, so. They're ongoing. I'm trying to debate in terms of how I'm going to do the kind of the 2 different greens when it comes to the vehicles, or whether I might go with a more of a silver and then a contrast over the top of it. That's going to be a little bit of an experimentation.
As you know, that's my favourite method. That's what I've done on the 2 Marine Legions.
Yeah, I really wanted to do these guys in traditional, more kind of traditional styling of the typical weathered kind of look. And actually, whilst I go dry brushing every single one, actually it was just kind of, I just spent an evening just with a pile on one side of dry brush, and I was just pick one up and then just transfer it across. And it gave the effect that I wanted to go with, which is, if I Zenithor, they would have been kind of almost too much green.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to keep that kind of I didn't want them to end up just looking like salamanders.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I was it was literally just a case of I do dry brush over the top, dry brush on the legs at the back, legs at the front, dry brush on the legs at the back, and then that was it. They were done.
Okay, that's not too bad.
So it really honestly didn't take that long to go through and do.
That's not so bad. Well, I shall be very keen to see some more of these done.
Yeah.
As you know, I'm very keen to see more Legions done by you, John.
I just need to get the red on the bolters now, which actually I've been doing red experiments. Basically trying to find the best red paint for what I'm trying to go for. So there's definitely going to be some differences. I've obviously got the typical Citadel, Mephiston red and Corn red.
Mm-hmm.
But both of those, the formulas are changing. So I was looking and seeing if there was any kind of alternative like styles. I picked up Duncan Rhodes, the Too Thin Coats.
Mm-hmm.
And I also picked up a thing of Vallejo Model Colour as well.
Okay.
To give an experiment too. The Vallejo one is very red. It's kind of back to, the red era of models. It's like, it's that red.
Oh, what was the old G Citadel one?
No, that is definitely before my time in terms of it, but I do know what you mean.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what it was called.
I wouldn't have a clue, so...
Yeah, I can't remember. What the original was called.
There was... Oh, come on. What was the old red?
I can picture it in my head, but I can't picture the words.
Because it's the one that came in the the old container, because it's was it like Goblin Green era and things like that. Yeah. Was it something was it just like blood red? Was it just blood red?
It could be blood red, yeah. It could be. It might have been something like that.
I know. What was the one that I saw? There was. Sorry, I just looked it up. It was blood red. Was the color? Was the one? That was it. My favorite one though was looking in the old Tau Codex. So like the third edition, or like either the third or fourth edition Tau Codex, they would have the same paint color. That like cream armor that the Tau have, that kind of like ochre-y, the typical Tau armor color.
Might say typical.
Typical for the time. The one that was used everywhere.
I was going to say all promotionals now is white armor, isn't it?
Tau Sept Viola. As opposed to the orange armor, which is Tau Sept. It's literally the namesake Sept.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, Viola stands out better. Like, there's a reason why they've changed it.
It does, and it does look better as well.
But that old one, the paint that you are meant to use for that, if you go by the GW standards of the time, vomit brown.
Lovely.
Yeah, they did have some interesting names back then.
Vomit brown.
Vomit brown.
Is that real?
Yeah.
Like,
genuinely, it was. You had vomit brown.
I'm a little bit concerned about what they would do when they named that, because to my recollection, the only time you get a brown vomit is after you've been drinking a lot of beer.
I feel like they were probably, they were going out and on the town afterwards.
Oh, well, I think they went on the town beforehand. Which might also explain why they named it that in the first place.
Probably. Yeah, it was, they had some. I mean, there was also, it was vomit brown and snot green. Both sides of it.
Snot green, yeah. Oh dear. Right.
Yes, old names.
Yes. Right. Well, I very much hope we're going to see some more of these at some point.
Yeah. Some nice red bolters. I love me a red bolter.
Yes. Well, hopefully, I want to see an army of these. Preferably across the table as well at some point.
Yeah. I have plenty of infantry to throw at you.
That's good. I've got plenty of anti-infantry guns.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move on to what me and Els have been basically working on. I primarily do the hobby side of things, obviously. But we've got a couple of shots from a game that we actually played today. And again, you can see the aftermath behind me a little bit. So what we've got is a shot here. Now, I'm primarily, I think quite a lot of these are with my models in the back, in the foreground. But what I want to draw your attention to is the terrain, which is actually what I've been working on, and I alluded to last week. And in this one particular, we've got a little red smoke signal there in the foreground.
Yeah.
And these are how I'm now sort of defining deployment zones for the game, so that they hide that mechanic. So it becomes part of the narrative of the board rather than just some token, which, as you guys are well aware, I try to avoid tokens as much as possible.
Yeah.
Even like my order tokens, you can't avoid them completely in Legions, but I've tried to disguise them as much as I can in Legions. And this is just another example, because quite often a lot of the missions, particularly a lot of the missions that I've designed, require you to know where deployment zones are. So having a static permanent marker is actually really handy.
Yeah. That does look that looks great, and I'm enjoying the little peak at terrain on the right there.
Yeah, some more shots of those in a minute. And I will point out, obviously, this is a red marker for attackers. There is a green set for the defenders as well.
Yeah.
So you can very clearly see who's attacker and defender.
Yep.
So we've got quite a few of these little shots. There's a couple of my lovely little Cerastus Knights there. Bit more terrain in it off on the two sides.
Yep.
We'll get some better pictures of those in a minute. There's a lovely warhound in the foreground, but just behind you can see my little rendition of a alien forest.
Alien forest, yeah. Hence the blue trees.
Yeah. The blue trees.
Blue trees.
And those were a phenomenal file, because they're like they're always meant to be aquatic plants.
Oh.
So they've got like this really cool, like almost spindly look to them. I think there's some other images later on. So I've got a set of these.
Great.
And obviously even the Warhound towers over them a little bit. But quite a lot of the other models fit in nicely.
No cover saves. No cover saves from those. No. The green side.
There's the green side. I also just noticed, darling, you've positioned all your missile launchers facing backwards.
No.
It's a good thing this was not a battle report.
Oh my god, I have as well. That's so embarrassing.
What an enjoyment.
Next picture.
There's the narrative of even the Night Lords still don't trust the Alpha Legion that's behind them. They're like, we know the enemy's that way, but we still don't trust you enough to turn around and face them. Like, we're gonna wait till the last minute and then turn and shoot. That's it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a nice little shot of the other side, and obviously got some lovely little land raiders in there, which we've previously featured. So here's another shot, so you can kind of see the more better look at some of the plants and the trees even.
Ooh. And something else. What's that off to the right?
What, that little grey thing?
Oh,
well, that's a secret little project that's not going to be very secret in a minute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But yes, no, those trees do look. Yep, they're looking.
Yeah. So we've got some infantry in there as well. Now, here you can see some armigers climbing over my brand new little craters. Which I have to say I'm very happy with. The paint on them was not only super quick and easy, but it's actually come out beautifully.
Honestly, like professional.
Believe it.
Professional.
Almost no. I like entirely airbrush and dry brush.
If it works, cannot fault the results, and the results are. I would be happy to have that. Like. I appreciate the the scatter sand around it as well.
Yeah, that's my blending sands.
But just like that, just on its own, would be a great bit of terrain.
Yeah, they look great. They also a homemade wash.
Ooh,
homemade wash, which I can't take credit for. That's Midwinter Minis. It's quite an old video, but the recipe works. It's brilliant.
What is the combo?
Now you're talking. It is matte medium, water. That one is burnt umber ink and some washing up liquid.
Oh. I was with you until the washing up liquid.
So a teeny tiny bit of washing up liquid acts as like a flow aid to help it flow into recesses.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, now I'm intrigued. I'm now intrigued to try and use like washing up liquid in my paints.
Well, I wouldn't. Yeah, might want to be careful because you have, like, I've got a big jar of it and I only use like a drop in it.
I'm not going to have like fresh smelling marines then.
No, probably not. It's great for terrain. I'd still stick with traditional washes for models for the most part.
Yeah.
But for terrain, it's brilliant. It's so fast. And obviously much more cost effective.
Yeah, it comes out great.
Midwinter Minis gets the credit for that one. But you can see it being used there. So that's mid craters, and I did do a stack of like 20 of them. It's ridiculous.
I kind of wish that you had the work in progress picture that you sent me. Because when you sent that picture and I looked at it from a distance, it looked like you had just been baking, but like really unsuccessful cookies. Like they just like spread it in all weird shapes. I'm like, Jamie, I didn't know you taken up baking. Yeah, they're looking really unusual shapes. I'm sure they taste delicious.
I wouldn't try eating these.
They're crunchy in the wrong way.
Yeah. So there is a whole other set of these as well, which I've done in an urban style as well. Which I'm sure I'll show off in the future next time we have an urban board setter. That's those. Now there you get a nice picture of my smaller bits of scatter, which aren't quite trees; they're just general flora. And again, because I got the aquatic trees, I looked for some like aquatic looking plants and stuff just to chuck in there. Yep. So,
they look weird and alien, and that's the vibe.
That is exactly, and you can also see in the background there. Look at my my new hills as well, which I made,
which are very simple. What I enjoy is those are like almost identical to the hills that you use when we do like big 40K. Games. Like 40K scale.
It's the exact same idea, but done with better materials.
I just very much appreciate the style of it.
Yeah.
Like those ones, the big ones. Oh, there's my babies. So that's my sorry. So that's my assault marines, and they're at the bottom. And then at the top is my my missile launchers with their commander.
So. Sorry, just very quickly, what would you count that as rules wise?
Oh, it's funny you say that because we actually made a rule for it.
We did. It's basically the cliff face. I can't remember what it begins with. P. You use the word. What is it?
A plateau.
A plateau is basically the same principle as a building that we use in like for the city board. Because this is obviously like a desert kind of planetary alien type board, and then the other one is like industrial / city / sort of the whole sci-fi works thing. So it basically is like the city board's version of the building. So it's like as long as you're within I think it's 3-inch distance of it. No, but you can like your unit can jump right into it, and it doesn't matter like where else you are, really.
Yeah,
I think I got most of it.
Yeah, more or less. Essentially, we've tried this out with just using movement and stuff like that, and it bogs the game down a lot. And because we already decided that only infantry could interact with it anyway, I decided to co-opt something similar to the structures rules. So I'm calling them plateaus or cliffs, something like that. There is a rule in the main rulebook for cliffs, so I'm going to probably not use that. I've just called them plateaus because they're big flat surfaces.
Yeah.
And we're treating them like a garrisonable structure, but instead of obviously certain rules you get with structures, you get slightly different rules for these things. So these are non-destructible.
But you could Titan melt a mountain.
That's the bit that kind of makes me stop, because I'm thinking knocking a building down is one thing because it's a hollow structure. Knocking down a thick not concrete but stone structure might be a little bit over the top. So at the moment they're non-destructible structure, which so infantry units, so long as one of the models touches it, they garrison it, and it provides you with a -1 to hit, and you get a +1 to your CAF on a charge, but that's it. You don't get a cover saver, you just get the -1. So it's a lot weaker than a standard structure, but it gives you quite a bit of mobility and range and stuff like that. So it's still beneficial.
No, that's cool. I like that.
And obviously, these are also quite great because obviously you can just chuck the models on there very comfortably.
Yeah, they've got lots of space to like store all of them on.
Oh yeah, plenty. I mean those assault marines, that's a group of 8, and then the missile launchers are a group of 8 plus a commander on there, and there is still space on there, so they fit quite comfortably.
It's a good thing they're not destructible for the amount of infantry that they can hold.
There is that.
I mean, considering like I think some of the buildings we've got can only have 8 or 9 on them. Some of them, so
physically, yes. Obviously, they can actually hold a detachment's worth. Technically.
Yeah.
And to be fair, based on the size of our buildings and stuff, they probably should be able to hold more, but I haven't gone into that side of things just yet. Mainly because I don't have any other buildings to compare them to. But yeah, so those are me plateaus. I quite like those. So
nice.
Custom rules. This is the full reveal of the secret little item you saw earlier. Which is unpainted so far. But this is my brand new
project.
Yeah, these are my objective markers, which I've made.
I thought I recognised this.
So these markers are something that I've actually designed myself from scratch. There's no pre-made assets in them, aside from the symbol on the banner. That was stolen from somewhere else. But the actual banner itself, and all of the wavy pattern and everything else is entirely my own. And those little stands as well, I built those as well.
They are so cool.
So we've now got some very cool little objective markers for Legions games.
So I'm guessing that is magnetised at the top so that you can swap it out.
Not magnetised.
Oh,
you just pop it in.
It's just a slot.
It's not magnets.
No, it's just a slot.
That's actually kind of even more pleasing. Okay, so what I'm hearing is we all need a banner now.
We all need banners. I mean, I've got one set of banners already for my House Drakkar, and I'm probably going to do another 3 sets of banners for my other factions. Because why not?
I mean, why? Yeah, why not? Why not? Of course.
I mean, I already have all the tools and objective counters and stuff for them. So, but yes,
I'm definitely going to need some of these.
I can definitely make some up. They don't take too long to make. So I had good fun with that. I also fell in love with my. The inspiration for the stand itself is actually the teleport homer from the Terminators, but specifically when I saw it animated in the trailer for 10th edition. 10th edition?
10th.
Yeah. The 10th edition trailer, when you see it slam in and the bits spike out to keep it in position. I just love that look, and I just thought, I wonder, could I use that for the banner? And I made this, and I was like, yes, I can.
I very much like it. It's a good fit. Yeah, it's like I can get behind this. This is good.
And thankfully, because we're in the realm of 40k, it might look ridiculously big, but it's 40k. Everything's ridiculously big.
I am kind of putting it like contextualizing this episode slightly now. It's like just the thing to hold that banner is bigger than a marine.
Yeah, it's like a mini tank. But if you think about it in context as well, like banners can be absolutely ginormous in the real world. So let alone in 40k where everything is turned up to 11.
Like that doesn't. I'm looking at that, and with entirely being like, yeah, that's entirely reasonable to be that size. Even with the context of how big it is compared to those squads of Marines, be like, yeah, it needs to be that big. Like, it's a big battlefield. You want to be able to see.
Yeah, and obviously practicality in terms of being able to print it, paint it, and then obviously actually using it as a gaming piece as well. So we have to be practical sometimes, and
that is a banner that requires a detachment to raise it.
Yes.
that is one team brings the thing to hold it, the other team brings the pole, and then the third team brings the entire rolled up banner, just try to run across with it under their arms.
Yeah. And obviously, because of the nature of the missions that I've designed as well, I kind of like the idea that all those objective markers are fired from orbit and they just go bang, and then you're like, right, go and get that, because that's an important place.
Go get that. We need that thing.
This is an area of control. You need to go and control it. So I just like it. It just worked in my brain.
So that's good. Yep.
So I'm going to paint some of these up, and I will be posting them online at some point. And once I'm happy with the printing process and stuff, I will look to potentially make them available for sale as well. If anyone's interested in some objective markers for Legions, and potentially I may even look at doing some upscaled ones with some more details on them for likes of 40k and stuff like that as well.
I mean, I'd be interested in those. I could do some nice kill team objective markers. So
I'm definitely thinking about doing something to put them on a 40mm base, put some more details on them, and they'd probably be a little bit better in scale, so to speak, as well.
Yeah. No.
So yeah, something for the future. But
very nice.
Yeah. I think that's almost it, really. There's just a couple more shots of some knights in some tree lines and stuff like that.
I do like those trees. They're good trees.
I like them. They're very nice.
They are very good.
Weren't too bad to paint either.
I was like, those knights, however, are in trouble because that is the rear that they're about to be shot in.
Yeah, and they were.
They died.
One of them died. The other one turned around and then mulched all of those Sakarans in return.
Those Cerastus knights are nasty.
They can be, but they're not infallible. They most of them were destroyed.
Oh.
The one that turned around and took out the Sakarans was the last man standing.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So it was quite vicious. But yeah. So there we are. That's it for that side of things, really.
Wow. Cool. Am I surprised that you've got great looking terrain? Nah. Cool. What I was going to ask is how did that terrain kind of come together? How was it? How did you make it?
So it's mostly 3D printed assets for the little pieces like the trees and the foliage, and then the bases are just a bit of foam board, cut to shape, chamfered down, and then Mod Podged all over, multiple coats to give it a little bit of rigidity, and then just sprayed and dry brushed.
So was the crater terrain stuff that was printed as well?
The craters are fully 3D printed. Mm-hmm. The big plateaus, they were handmade out of dense, quite dense foam, using a method I learned from Wylock's Armory on YouTube. He's done loads of really cool terrain making videos, and he basically shows you how to make those. Basically scoring the sides up and then dragging a metal ruler across just creates this really nice sort of rock pattern.
Yep.
And in the background there isn't a close-up of it. I'll try and get one for next time. There's actually a couple of lakes as well I've done. Which is foam board again. But what I've done is in the middle I've hollowed out the foam and then just poured in a load of water effects resin, basically.
Oh, cool.
Really quite easy.
Like the kind of clear setting resin.
Yeah, except this one was like a dirty, muddy texture. But yeah.
Ace.
So yeah, that's it.
Oh.
Yeah.
So very exciting terrain.
Yes, lots more to come, lots more bits and pieces to do, and then finally I'll be able to continue my own armies. Because that pile of shame has been sat there for too long.
I do have to add that there is a bit of terrain that you have done, which is one of your little alien planty bits, which is like a very round cactus looking thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You've painted it green, but I need you to paint those spikes red so that it looks like the old GW style cactuses that they would have.
Yeah, no.
Oh, come on, just
Now, tell me, you can do it.
I've got loads of red. Give me them.
You're welcome to add that on if you want, but I'm done painting terrain for the time being. I have spent weeks painting terrain to get these boards ready.
Yeah, no, it looks great.
Yeah, there's quite a few other things that I didn't get a chance to photograph because I've got cool new effects as well. So I've got explosion effects, I've got fire effects, more smoke effects, for key moments in the game and stuff like that. But as we told you off camera, that game went very quick.
I also enjoy the perspective in this picture of the Night Lord looking down.
Yeah, I tried to get some cool thematic shots.
It's a good angle of the destruction's about to happen.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that is everything for Tankard Talk today.
Good Tankard Talk.
But just as a little promotion or call to action, maybe, shall I say, please do send in some stuff for us to look at that isn't ours.
Yes.
Because, we see this stuff all the time. And they all end up on social media, so you may have already seen some of these things as well, usually. So, yeah.
People send to us on the Instagram or getting in contact with us. Probably Instagram's probably the easiest to get in contact with, or
Instagram or Facebook. Facebook's quite good as well. Quite. We've had a few people message us through Facebook, so that's quite handy. But yeah, those are probably the two best mediums. Yeah. Right. Well, with that all being said, then I think it's probably time to get into the main show.
Let's roll.
All right. We'll see you in just a moment. And welcome back to the main discussion of today.
Woo.
So, as previously mentioned, we are going to have a little chat about getting to the point where we've chosen an army. Something that we're passionate about, and we're going to build an army. John, an army. Not a handful of models.
Not just a couple of screws, my boy.
I feel like this conversation is going to end up being an intervention, but please continue about how you haven't trapped me here. Go on.
I mean, it might happen. There's also someone else on the team who is very conveniently not here for this session. They will get mentioned.
Yep.
And they will be
bullied as well.
They will be tried in absentia. But yes, no. In all seriousness, it'd be interesting to have a chat about why we've come to our decisions and what leads us there. And because, I mean, particularly me, definitely you, John, and to a certain degree, Joe, all have had those moments where we're like, do I like this, or do I want to move to something else?
Yep.
It's a curse. Kind of a blessing in times, but mostly a curse.
Oh, yeah. Mine's a curse. Mine is a curse. I know mine's a curse.
Mine has been a curse, particularly with my 40k Legions. I seem to have kind of cured myself to a certain degree.
It's impressive. Anyway, let's get into it proper.
Yes, let's do that. So, obviously, we're following on from a previous episode we've done a while back, which was the faction paralysis episode. This is kind of like a follow-on, but a more focused dive into Legion specifically. But hopefully, we'll be able. You should be able to extrapolate a lot of what we talk about into whatever systems you're into. So I think what we'll do is we'll start off with, shall we say, the personal journey section. So where we're at now. Okay. So what I'll do, we'll do this in a sort of interview-esque style. So I'm going to talk to each of you, pose your question, and then you can then pose the questions, same questions to me in return.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think we'll start with elves, because those might be the easiest ones here. So, elves, question 1. So, what army or armies are you currently playing or plan to play in Legions Imperialis?
So I'm currently playing Night Lords / Night Lords with Alpha Legion allies for now, until I have enough of my own stuff to replace what's Alpha Legion, so that I've got fully a Night Lord army. That's what I'm working towards.
So I can claim my Alpha Legion back.
Basically, yeah. And also because I don't think that that Alpha Legion and Night Lords working together is very narratively accurate, very much. So
technically anyone can work with the Alpha Legion. That's the whole reason I play them.
Yeah, I just no, thank you.
Well, let's pivot on that point about narrative and lore, because that is part of question 2, really. So, what first attracted you to Night Lords? Is it the lore? Is it particular models, or is it a playstyle kind of thing, or something else?
I mean, I think it's a mixture of things. I mean, the first time I came across Night Lords was when I decided that I was gonna research and look into a lot more lore, and I came across a YouTube video about Night Lords and was like, hey, these guys seem pretty freaking cool. And then I consumed nothing but Night Lords lore content for about a week and got myself hooked on Comrade Kurz. And then I think from that I started to actually look into who they were as a faction, and then their army, and then what they were like during the heresy, and then it kind of just all molded down to the fact that they're very different and very unique in some ways than some of the other factions, particularly like traitor factions. And overall, I just think they're really cool, and I built like a real like Comrade Kurz is like, you know, I love him a lot. I shouldn't, nobody should, but you know, that's what being a girl is all about. And I kind of just, it's like one little branch just like came across and like consumed my brain, and now it's like they're probably my top 2 favorite over the entire setting, like faction wise, I think, for me.
So I think you've kind of also answered the next part of the question, which is did anything unexpected happen to cause you to get into Night Lords? It kind of sounds like, well, you kind of accidentally fell in love with Conrad.
Yeah, and I also started reading the Night Lords book, the series, the omnibus. Like we went into Games Workshop in Taunton, and I saw it on the shelf, and I read the first 3 sentences and was like, I need it. It was, yeah. I've still not finished it. I'm like 5.
It's a big book.
I'm like maybe 15 chapters in. It's really good so far, but unfortunately I had the ending spoiled for me, so I know how the last book ends. So
I wouldn't let that put you off. I mean, everyone's known how the Horus Heresy series ends, and that got 60 books in, and no one seemed to bother about that.
Yeah.
I don't know, Jamie, the ending did affect you.
A certain part did, yes. a certain character death was very traumatic for me, and totally destroyed one of my army ideas. But anyway, okay, cool. Well, great, thank you.
Yeah.
So, John, Same questions then. So, what army or armies are you currently going to be playing?
I can do this one because that's easy. I am currently going to be playing a 40k era style of Dark Angels with the Green Wing, the Raven Wing, and the Death Wing, as opposed to what would typically be Legion's style, which is the original Dark Angels,
which still follow the hexagrammaton.
This is more going for the yeah. I was going to say also the black armor with the red trim. So like there's an aesthetic difference that has come kind of into them. But yes, no, going very much that kind of the idea of like the 3 wings on the table. That's the vibe. There is, and the kind of immediate thing, there are going to be some Titans alongside. There is going to be a Titan house and some knights that will be run alongside them. I think in the immediate future, it's definitely going to be the Dark Angels with Titans. And then the knights will probably come later, simply because I have the Titans.
I know you have the Titans.
I don't have the knights.
Yeah.
I just need to nail down. I've had some ideas around cover schemes for the Titans now that I've
pivoted again.
Now
that you've pivoted again.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what is it about Dark Angels that's grabbed you this time? And I'm saying this time because I still don't trust you not to change again.
Neither do I. Sorry, love.
It's true. I'm terrible. So, what is it about Dark Angels that attracted me? There is a little bit of this, which I need to go into what I am building slowly for the 32 mil scale, which is not Dark Angels. It is Black Templars. And there is a little bit of a journey in there, which I could definitely go into, but essentially it was the Space Knights are kind of fun, and the idea of like this high tech combined with old style, I was like, that's really dumb. And then my brain and then I did a flip in the brain, and I was like, no, it's perfectly dumb. Like that's the answer. That's what you want. So it was definitely Dark Angels were the aesthetic that I wanted to go for. They were definitely an aesthetic one, kind of first and foremost, more than kind of anything else. There's a little bit. Obviously, I've not really had a chance to kind of play with them, so playstyle wise, I'm not sure. But the kind of the idea of like the different wings, I really, that appeals as an aspect, kind of from them. But yeah, it was definitely like it was an aesthetic first of all. The kind of like the winged helmets and the different colors in the armor, and also the other key thing that there was to it, which is again something that I didn't know that I needed on every Space Marine that I would ever paint. I need my bolters painted in red. I can't explain it, but my brain goes, black bolter, that's okay, but red bolter, now we're talking. So yeah.
So it's definitely an aesthetic appeal that's going to draw you in.
It is an aesthetic appeal. There is. I haven't dug into Dark Angels lore for a couple of reasons. Just a time constraint element to it. Between kind of between other things that are going on, and the concern that I'll be like, I really like the lore of Dark Angels. What if I did more Dark Angels?
I mean, you should do more Dark Angels, more little Dark Angels.
Yes. I need to make sure that I keep my my lore love. Yeah, I need to make sure it doesn't go to the other side, because I listened to one audiobook and it was enough to make me change an army.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say much. I've done the same in the past, but at the moment, we're on the Dark Angels path.
I genuinely, I know I have said this before, and this is also what has led to kind of like I guess going into the next thing of like what happened, what kind of changed. The kind of evolution of different armies that I've gone through was, initially I was going in with the kind of like that the idea of world eaters, because I'm meant to be a world eaters player at heart.
We all know it.
I know. Like, I worry that it's going to awaken something inside of me, and you're just going to see me just screaming "Blood for the Blood God" on the other side of the table. Like, I need
that's
something
what
to keep
I want to see.
But yeah, so I was like, well, I don't, and also because I wanted to try everything with Legions. So I want an army that I would have an excuse to kind of pivot into, get a try of everything. So I was like, I also really like the aesthetic of Iron Warriors. I thought Iron Warriors look really cool. And I then found out I really don't like painting hazard stripes. Or at least that many hazard stripes. But they look the best when they have that many hazard stripes. Maybe that is one that I will look at again in the future. Not like get something done and then look at it, not pivot. So I was like, oh, what are kind of other ones? I was like, oh, KLC, Word Bearers. I thought that they were going to be like, these are the ones that look really fun. The problem that I had kind of as I was going through and painting them is none of the like the kind of the painting aspect was sparking any joy. Like, I was like, yeah, it's functional, but it wasn't fun.
Yes, because you unlike myself actually enjoy painting, don't you?
I do very much. I do very much enjoy painting.
Yeah, so you probably do benefit from having something where you can be a little bit more creative.
And like, I don't want to not do word bearers, but if I'm going to do word bearers, I want to do word bearers in a way that they feel like they feel like chaos word bearers.
You want a bit of extra flesh and tendrils and stuff and like chaosy effects and all sorts of that.
Yeah,
that crazy
leans
stuff.
A bit more. Something that definitely leans a bit more. Whereas like with the with the kind of Dark Angels, especially with that aesthetic, like I'm definitely going to have the thing of like some of them in like robes and things like that, and kind of go down that aspect of they are knights that are in power armor, and that's definitely the kind of the aesthetic that I'm aiming for. But yeah, it's definitely it was definitely a case of I painted up a few and I was like, I need my red bolters. This is what I need in my life.
So what we can really say is it all came down to red bolters.
It all came down to red bolters, and I didn't know that I need red bolters. I just, there's a fundamental need that I have for red bolters, or just bolters that aren't painted in just black.
Yeah, I'm quite the opposite. I prefer them just box standard black casings.
I think that it's the same thing of why I thought I would like raptors, but then I found out that I didn't, because I was like, they're really just they're too sensible, and I don't need sensible in my world. I need incredibly dumb. So the fact that they have this like, here is our like grim military weapon. What are we going to paint it in? Bright red. Well, we've spent the time to make sure that we go into battle after carefully painting every single one in bright red, whereas we could just make them in black and be like, no, we've painted them in red.
Yeah, I mean, it also does very much fit the sort of over the top gaudy nature of what Space Marines quite often are.
Yeah.
It's not like some army, like seeing like red clad lasguns would feel a bit like, why would anyone go to that effort? Because you wouldn't manufacture them in red.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But with a Space Marine, you can very easily see like they would have an entire wing of servitors on their ships just with a red paintbrush, and like your fine detail brush as well.
Yeah. Go through every single bolter just lined up, just there.
You can see that being a thing.
Oh yeah, 100%.
It does make a sense. And the red can look good if done right. you have to be careful not to go into the cartoony, but it does work.
No, it helps with like dark color schemes just to add like that nice pop of color. The especially with like the Dark Angels, that bit of red just like it works well as a contrast. Like green armor, red bolter, they're gonna stand out.
Yeah, no, it works very well.
Which is again why I was like, I if I'm gonna do them, I want to do them in 40k style. And actually, that the kind of the mental like flick of the switch occurred when we were on the podcast, and we were talking about the fact that actually how we're playing it is not intended to be Heresy era. We're doing our own, we're going to be doing our own thing, and it's essentially set in the kind of 40k modern era aspect. So I was like, oh, I can use that.
Okay.
Jamie.
Yes.
What are you playing at the minute?
So I am playing a collective of armies, all themed around the core of my knight household, House Dracaran, supported by their serfs, the Solar Auxilia, as well as an allied contingent of the Legio Invictorum, the the Titan. Was it Collegiate?
Collegiate,
yeah. And there is also, because I have to have Space Marines in there somewhere, I do obviously have my love of the Alpha Legion represented as a sort of backroom dealer. Sometimes ally, sometimes enemy. Because they will fight the Alpha Legion, and just as often the allies, they will also ally with them as well.
So it's like, just in terms of like getting the correct order with your army, we've got knights are the main thing.
Knights are the core of the narrative, although in terms of points, it's probably actually Solar Auxilia. They tend to ally.
I meant from a narrative perspective.
But yes, narrative perspective, they're all built around Dracaran and the knights. Cool. And then obviously the Auxilia are basically the serfs. The Titans are sort of the very strong ally, and then the Alpha Legion are the sort of as and when allies.
So, what made you go for the knights?
So I started with Alpha Legion. Very much straight in, bang, Alpha Legion, crack on. Mainly because that's the army I was kind of leaning into for 40k, and I've read a lot of Alpha Legion lore, and I love it. I think it's great. But when I started painting a few knights, because I just had a couple of knights printed off, and I thought, it might be quite fun to paint a couple up, just see what they're like. Turns out, no, it wasn't knights at all, actually, was it? It was Titans. I had a couple of Warhound Titans in my starter boxes.
Yep.
And I started painting those up, and out of nowhere, I just loved painting them. Something about painting a big, stompy robot in an evening and having 300 points put on the table straight away, I was just mesmerised. In fact, I painted two of them. I had 600 points painted in an evening. I was just like, what is this madness? So that led me down the path of thinking, knights are similar, big robots, lots of points, should be relatively quick. So I painted some knights, some 3D printed ones, and I was like, yeah, this is quick. And then I bought a whole knight army.
I enjoy that, like, your attraction to an army is like, it's based on efficiency. Mm-hmm. You're like, how many points can I get for the least amount of effort?
Pretty much nailed it.
Which fascinates me that you haven't gone Custodes in Big Hammer.
The one thing about Custodes is they lack so much versatility. Yeah. They have a little bit of mobility. They have a little bit of shooting. They have no psychic. The only thing Custodes.
Yeah, of course they don't have a psyker option. Madness, of course. I shouldn't have even suggested the idea.
But their only real talent is combat. And I'm very much, I like tactical flexibility. I like to be able to do everything. A bit like what you were saying, counter to World Eaters, so to speak. But for me, like, that is the antithesis of what I want. I cannot stand a one-note faction. So, which to a certain degree you'd be like, well, knights don't have psychers. But they don't. But they do have good shooting. They do have high mobility when you want it. They do have very good melee. There's scope for me to add psychic with my own rules. Whereas I couldn't justify that with something like Custodes.
I was going to say, as it currently stands, there isn't really psychic in Legions.
Well, no, there isn't. But I'm,
there is that one Titan which can shoot psychic guns.
Yes, but again, the brilliance of what we do is we make our own rules as well. But, you know, from a lore perspective, that's why I would always have lent more that way than I ever would have gone for Custodes, because the Custodes just lack any ability for me to do anything with it. In one aspect of the game I absolutely love, or the lore I love, which is psychic, the fact that that's not in there at all means they were dead to me straight away.
Am I the only one that thinks they're kind of boring?
What, Custodes?
Yeah.
I mean, from a gameplay perspective, I'd say they are very boring. Narratively, they're quite interesting. But
oh yeah, I mean, like, their whole creation and all of that is like, whoa. Yeah. But I feel like just like they're in game, they're very just one note.
Yeah. Well,
kind of.
Let's not try and sidetrack ourselves too much into dumping onto Custodes.
I was like, where does Custodes hate come from? Okay.
But yes, anyway. So yes, those are the armies I've got. Those are the reasons why. And
anything unexpected? Oh, I guess to a certain degree, you kind of answered your unexpected thing. You like painting big robots.
I do like painting big robots. It turns out. Which I never thought, because I've never thought about, until now, thought about painting a knight for 40k. All of my armies don't even come close to knights. Although I always had a fascination with dreadnoughts. So I suppose in the back of my mind it was already there, I just hadn't quite realised why I enjoyed painting the dreadnoughts so much.
See, you say you have a fascination for dreadnoughts, but you don't appreciate the best dreadnought.
I'm
going to leave it there. I'm going to leave it there.
That's not the best dreadnought. It's the worst. But okay.
It is the best dreadnought, and I will die on this hill.
One of us is going to die on this hill.
Also, I was also going to lead with the. I was just going to go with the statement of, "Oh, you like painting big robots, so you're going to start playing Tau."
It's funny you say that. That might come up later. Don't get too scared.
Okay, that's good.
It will be an anecdote. It won't be a thing. Okay.
Interesting.
Right. Let's gently move on.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll start with you this time, John.
Ooh.
So this we're gonna move on to sort of like lore versus playstyle, because we've all mentioned it already. So, how often do we feel like the lore of the armies that we're looking at match up with their rules or the play style?
Ooh. Now, are we talking like focusing specifically, obviously, towards Legions? I feel like, and this is primarily coming from like the Space Marine perspective. I feel like there is quite a lot of, at least from like the rule set, that I don't think necessarily lines up with what I would expect to see in terms of the playstyle. Like going specifically for Dark Angels, they're like their specific rules that they've got, kind of. It feels like they're going for that idea of like, they ran in like, mixed company, that kind of idea of like the different wings supporting each other. I was hoping that there would be a bit more around the kind of idea of they were the first lead, they were that first legion. They were given a lot of like because the other bit that I quite like, as I have been doing some lore dives, but like the fact that the Dark Angels had a lot of access to essentially like tech that was very early on, like some of that like dark age of technology tech stuff, and they've got like the vaults of their secret tech and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that kind of aspect is one that I would have maybe liked to have seen a bit more kind of represented.
Okay.
From that kind of, that alignment of there. But I think there is definitely, in the wider game sphere, there is a difficulty with lore and playstyle lining up.
Mm-hmm.
One, and this doesn't go so much into Legions, but it does to a certain degree. When you describe the properties of a bolter, it should be the most terrifying weapon that exists, and then there is heavy versions of it. And then you take it to the tabletop and you're like, I'm going to shoot somebody with a bolt gun. It's not really going to do much.
I think that probably extends from, and this is true, Games Workshop have said it, they base everything from the Space Marine as their start point. And that's probably the mistake, really, is they should base everything on a guardsman. That should be your baseline.
Yeah.
So I think that's where it inherently comes from as a problem. And I think Legions is definitely in that same trap because, again, Legions, by its very concept, was built around the Heresy and therefore Space Marine combat. So, again, the Space Marines were probably, I could almost guarantee you, the baseline model that they worked everything from.
Oh, 100%.
Whereas it probably should have been the Pseudo Auxilia.
Yeah, there's no doubts about that.
Yeah. So, yeah, there's an inherent bias in there.
In all fairness, the tactical Marine box did keep them literally like in business. Like, there's a reason why Space Marines are the poster boys. They sell.
Yeah.
I know. I was just doing it for the bit.
Yeah. It's definitely a case of there is more than a couple of times where like lore and playstyle. But yeah, you're right. Like going from a Marine and building up from there does cause problems.
Yeah. Right. This section is much more open than I was expecting to do, so we'll ditch the interviewee style bit for this bit.
Yeah, just suddenly we all had opinions.
And I have a funny feeling most of these are going to probably feature quite well as that more open, apart from maybe the last bit. Okay, so we're kind of on the sense that Space Marines aren't necessarily well portrayed in their rules compared to their lore, which I don't think is new to anybody, as we've already discussed.
There are definitely times where I feel like the rules that are written... Oh, yeah.
But I don't know that that's necessarily true for all of the armies. Like, I think the play style... Certainly in Legions, I think, like Knights and the Titans do what they're supposed to do for the most part. There's a couple of outliers, but as a general rule, I think they do fit the theme of what they're supposed to be doing.
Interesting that Knights and Titans, the two factions that existed in a game previously, are the ones that feel like they're almost like the best feeling ones. Because I would agree with you 100%. Like, the Knights and the Titans feel very well realised.
But in particularly in Legions as well, they are really well done. Because you look at them in 40k, and there's so many problems with Titans. So many problems with Knights, let alone the Titans. I mean, Midwinter Minis has just done a series of videos where he's basically come out and said, look, that buying a Titan is basically pointless because they are a massive paperweight because in the game they're useless.
Yeah.
Which is really sad because they're really cool models and they're very expensive.
They are... they're the kind of thing that actually you kind of just need to go, this is a very cool model. Like, buy it as a model. Absolutely. Like, if you want a model that is a giant thing that you can paint and be like, I really appreciate this thing. And yeah, like a paperweight. But, that's kind of like the thing you need to think about with it, because unless you're going to do Legions with like 32mm models, playing Apocalypse, like that's the only time where I feel like a Titan would really be running out.
Yeah. Yeah. So, in that context, the lore is not represented at all for them, but in Legion scale, it just works.
Yeah, and that's because for big like I would definitely argue in favor of from a if we're going from a game perspective that actually there should be like less stuff on the table for just what is standard Warhammer. Like everything should be basically just like considerably more expensive points wise if you're going to go with this kind of if you're going to go with the point system and just less things on the table, because it's almost like you're trying to play like an army scale game with something with a board size and like just a scale size that just doesn't really make sense.
Yeah, I mean you're basically playing like a 1,000 point Legions game as a 2,000 point 40k game.
Yeah.
And there is still a massive difference in the two.
Yeah, hugely. Huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah, I've come around to the idea now that I've seen a few things and watched a few other people talk about this idea of reducing the scale of 40k, and it makes a lot of sense. Would make life cheaper as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's probably another topic for another day. Okay, so with all this in mind then, so we definitely have a couple where the lore and the playstyle marry, and then a couple where they don't. Mm-hmm. Mainly looking at Space Marines here. Although I think by extension the Auxilia feel a bit odd as well, because it's in Legions, like 1-to-1 an auxiliary base and a starting base are almost mirror.
Which is weird.
Which is very weird. Like, the Space Marines should stomp them.
Yeah.
But they don't. So, though, ironically, in the infantry scale, I think, that's where it's not quite there yet. But once you get to tanks and up, I think they're okay. I think it works. So I think the infantry might need a little bit of tweaking.
Yeah, almost like the infantry, the slightly more problem ones. I do have one where I can say that the is it playstyle? Is that the right word? Is that going to be the right bit for it? But definitely the existence is a problem in what should be there and what isn't there, which is your Knight Castellans. This is where Jamie would put his Knight Castellans if he was allowed to have them.
Yes, I am missing something that should be there.
Just this obvious gap where they should be.
Yes, my Dominus class Knights.
Yeah. Dominus. Castellan is Castellan, one of the types.
The Castellan, I believe, is one with the plasma weapon. I can't remember what the other one's called, but yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, no, there's some things missing, but that's not quite there what we're going for.
I know.
But yes, so I think I kind of in my notes I've referred this is more of a question, but I think by virtue of asking ourselves what matches and what doesn't, I think we've already kind of answered it already, and that was the question was going to be does it matter personally whether the gameplay matches with the lore? And I think by the way we've been talking, I think the answer is yes. We want it to feel like it matches the lore. So I think we've kind of naturally come to that conclusion through the process of chatting.
Yeah.
Like, for example, with the Night Lords, they're very much the Terror Tactics army, but that's not well represented in the game.
I realised that what I said before, I missed like the biggest chunk out of what I'm working on, and that's the fact that I have a whole character that I'm building specifically because of my Legions army. I forgot to mention that. So Yeah, but like 100% lore does matter. Especially when you're playing narratively, because I feel like to play narratively, you have to have the lore there to drive you in order to, like, you know, help inspire you and that sort of thing. Yeah, that's my opinion anyway.
Yeah, I think we can draw a nice consensus on that one. So that's what we want to. That's what we want really at the end of the day.
Yeah,
I think the you saying that, like, Night Lords feel like Night Lords feel like one that would be really hard, and actually I don't know how you would potentially pull them off. In any kind of game. In any kind of game like Legions or in regular kind of 40k, because almost like the Night Lord's war begins before the game starts.
Yeah,
like their whole idea of their terror tactics works because they essentially they're getting into everybody's head before they've even been seen on the field.
Yeah.
I do agree it's going to be one of the more difficult ones to do. I don't feel like it's an impossibility to achieve it. And
didn't mean it as an impossibility, it's a harder one because of it.
But I think the skeleton of the rules to allow us to do that is already in there, because actually the morale rules in Legions are some of the best morale rules I've seen from games which have been a long time. Good morale. Yeah. So I think there's definitely something there. I don't think their answer to it was very good. And that's something that we're going to attempt to fix ourselves.
I think the Night Lords they're unique in a way that hasn't been it hasn't been totally fleshed out yet where Legions is concerned. Because I mean, when Jamie and I were talking about maybe coming up with a special rule for them, because they don't really have much of one overall anyway, it has been a little bit more difficult for us to think about anything. But I think that with playing the game more, certainly now, I think that something will probably come up eventually. It's Yeah.
Well, the ideas are forming there anyway. But,
yeah.
But that's not what we're primarily discussing. We've already done our rules fiasco, which is already 3 episodes long. So we shall swiftly move on before we get bogged down into more rules talk.
You don't want to make it a 4th.
We don't want to make it a 4th. Not yet. I'm sure it will come back, but let's have a break. Okay, so let's have a think then. So the other key aspect, which I think has definitely had an impact on certainly the armies that I've selected and what you've selected, and that's the sort of aesthetic and modelling side of things, about how important they are in terms of picking an army. Because, I mean, you yourself, John, straight away, we've already identified that, red bolters and wings and the knightly aesthetic kind of drew you into the Dark Angels.
Yeah, 100%. The aesthetic aspect is it's definitely looks are the most important part in at least in my opinion of it. If it's looks compared to gameplay, it would always be, as terrible as that, it's looks first, and I think that's because as a thing, these are they're models that you're painting. If it was just gameplay that was the concern, why would you have models? You could just have little tokens that represent stuff, and that it could have the same gameplay but without the physical models.
True.
In my opinion, I'm coming at this from, especially with Legions, what I want to see is the armies fighting, and that is like the scale of, you could get away by making a Legions kit, your Legions kit go really, really far and paint them up really, really quickly by sticking a single Marine on every single base. Because all that matters is the base size. Like, the number of Marines are on the base doesn't actually matter.
No, it doesn't.
So, but is that going to look as good as your squad of 5, like, firing down on that little base that you've got them on? That looks better.
Okay, yep. So you're definitely leaning into the aesthetics, definitely is going to be king.
Yeah.
When it comes to picking your army.
Yeah. And when it comes to playing the game, like, I feel like it should look good when you're fighting.
Else?
I mean, I obviously don't make or paint anything because Jamie offered to do that. As long as I buy him his own plastic crack, which I think is completely fair enough. That's what marriage is all about.
A commission paint, but at home.
Yeah. But I do agree with sometimes aesthetic does matter, but for me, it's not about how it looks on the table. It's about how it refers back to the lore again. Like, I floated an idea to Jamie today because he's got my next lot of units set up ready to be painted. And on my, because I have 2 separate groups of Terminators, so I have one set of Terminators that are already painted up. My second set, I want them all to have red gauntlets, which is the only reason why I was reminded of it was because you said about your red bolters, and then I was just like, oh yeah, that's a thing that I came up with. And it's basically because in Nostraman gang, like Nostraman culture, gang members who are who have like, it was either like they were stamped on the back of their hand in like an X, or they were made to wear like red gloves, sort of, and it basically is a death mark, and a death mark is only given to somebody who has done like something really messed up. But a death mark doesn't necessarily mean, oh, this is like you're gonna die now. It's more of a, you get death marked, you are then put in to do a service, and then when you are not needed anymore, then we're gonna kill you. So it's almost like a kind of like, it's like death row but with extra steps. And so I said to Jamie, I was like, oh, I want to do this because I think it would A, look really cool, and B, like, it gives me that kind of lore background which I really like. So I do agree with aesthetic, but I don't necessarily think that it has to look perfect on tabletop. I don't think that, like, I think if you've got mostly a painted army and then you've still got stuff that's grey and crying out for a brush, I don't think that that's like necessarily a bad thing. I think it, it depends on your ability and how. I mean, I can't really say anything about like not having stuff painted because I don't do any of it myself. But that's my point of view. So.
So I just wanted to jump in. I wasn't saying that like every army had to be beautifully painted.
Yeah.
But talking through, I just want to make sure that wasn't how I ended up coming across. I was just like, I would rather have like an interesting.
No, I do get it. I totally, yeah. I mean, like, I mean,
I'm with you. I barely have anything painted, and I'd much rather have I want interesting aesthetics. Like you said, those Night Lords having having their little insignia bits painted onto the gauntlets is yes, that's the stuff that I want.
Yes, and Muggins here's got to do that.
Jamie, what about you?
Well, I mean, I definitely, as someone who is not a massive fan of painting, despite the amount I do, I still appreciate having a good-looking army. There's a reason I've gone with the colour schemes I've gone, and the reason why the more complicated paint schemes are on the biggest, point-heaviest models, so that I'm only spending the time on the big stuff. The little stuff is the quick and dirty, easy to do. So there's definitely a balance to be had there. But we're not necessarily just talking about paint here. What we're also looking at is just the general aesthetic of an army. So that's also models as well.
Yeah.
Do the models inspire you to paint them or to put them on the table? And for me, I've become a massive fan of big stompy robots, and that's because I found them so easy to paint. And as I've spent more time with them, I've become more appreciative of them, and I enjoy the look of these. Or in my mind's eye, I can imagine these massive stomping machines crunching across a battlefield with, all these little peons at the bottom running around scared shitless because you've got this towering monstrosity going everywhere and blowing stuff up. Again, it's part of it for me is being able to picture it in my mind's eye. And if I can't picture it vividly and it doesn't grab me with a sense of awe, I'm not that interested. So there's a balance to be had, with the humans and the mortals. For me, the thing that makes it interesting to look at is the scale of it. So massed numbers. Doesn't matter if they're super detailed or have colourful colour schemes. It's just numbers.
Yeah.
Swarms. When you get to the Titans, though, and the Knights, I want to see cool schemes and colours and interesting looks.
Bright vibrancy. The fact that somebody went and painted this thing that's the size of a small building in neon colours. Yeah, making it stand out. No.
I think where models are concerned, for me, it's tanks. I love tanks now.
Is that the look of the tank or the functionality of the tank?
I think it's a little bit of both, but it's more the fact that when they're on the tabletop and I can see them, and I just imagine them just swooping down through the dirt of this battlefield, they're rolling on through. They've got for the land raiders, they've got the units inside. I just think that's really freaking cool. But I mean the functionality of them as well are amazing because I find that the more you have, the better it is when playing Space Marines. And I do enjoy shooting stuff anyway. So I think that it's mostly how they look, just rolling on down through the dirt. But I do like shooting stuff with them as well. So.
No, I mean, I think one of the interesting phrase you used there is you imagine them.
Yeah.
Bit like what I was saying about being able to picture it in my mind's eye. If it doesn't give me a sense of awe, it becomes less interesting. So maybe there's almost that little bit of being able to visualize what you're doing is quite important, because that helps connect you to what you're doing.
Yeah. I think in a kind of in a similar vein of like the that idea of like what can you picture, mine very much has kind of like come down to the thing that has like almost got that appeal with the Dark Angels aspect of like the mixture of different stuff coming in all together. So like the fact that in Legions, and what I'd be looking for is like I've got some aircraft, I've got some infantry, I've got some vehicles, and all these kind of like this, like it feels like an army. That's the bit that I'm like I'm looking forward to kind of like seeing in front, where it's like this is this army force, this is this chapter rolling out together. With like all the different aspects kind of shown off, the all the different wings where being demonstrated, but just that mixture of kind of different units is like the aesthetic appeal that I want there.
Okay. If you could pick one model that inspired you to start creating an army, what would it be? Yeah, you're giggling, so let's go with you first, shall we, Els?
Come on, cuz. I mean, yeah, I think that's the obvious answer. But honestly, are we talking like are we talking about like the army we have now, or are we talking about like an army we would do?
No, I'm talking about the army that you've got, or the army you've chosen. What was the model that inspired you to start it, or what's the model that you aspire to have to centerpiece the army, if you like? Which I imagine in your case probably would still be Conrad Kurz.
I mean, yeah, but also I think realistically for me it was knowing I could have a character base with my own character on it that I've made, that I'm writing at the moment. I think that's probably my more realistic answer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. John?
I've got I have a slightly I'm going to be greedy here. I have a slightly more I have a slightly weirdly roundabout answer to go to. So from a perspective of like what made me look at stuff that is Legion/epic scale was the Basilisk. The Basilisk artillery was the thing that made me look at and go, that's the thing I want to see at small scale.
Mm-hmm.
Because it made sense. It was this artillery piece that sit at the back and fire shells over the field. So like from that perspective, that was the thing that I'm looking at. I looked at and being like, small scale suddenly like makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. In turn, like, and then kind of from a marine perspective, it was actually I really like the Predators. Mm-hmm. I really want to run just a load of Predator tanks. I think the Predator tanks are really cool. I don't know whether they're particularly good. I've not actually tried them out, but I just really like them. I just really like the Predator tanks. I don't know what it is. In terms of then, I can actually very easily go, this is the model that I was like, yeah, I'm probably gonna do some Dark Angels. I have a really nice Lionel Johnson model, and I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty sweet model. But actually, so Lionel Johnson was really fun. The thing that I think kind of like that absolutely cemented it was doing basically the equivalent of like the Blade Guard or like the Terminators, like suddenly seeing that just like I don't want to do an entire army in like bone, like otherwise that would be that's Death Guard, but just like that little pop of like bone color armor in amongst everything else was like, yes, that's why I want to do these ones.
It does stand out beautifully.
Having the one guy who's got this bone armor with like the big kind of red the red sword on the shield and like the red plumes on the top, just that in amongst a lot of very dark color is just like, I was like, this is why it's this one.
Okay.
What about you?
Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit as well, because obviously I've got 4 armies in one. Now I can tell you the army that inspired it all was my War Master. The War Master Titan was just, it was so much fun to do, and that cemented it for me. But if I was to pick a model for the Titans that inspires me to really get into them, it's the Warlord Titan. I don't know why, I just love the look of it. The customizability is just chef's kiss good, and the fact that I can turn it into a side Titan as well. Solar Auxilia. It's the Shadow Sword. It's one of the only models I don't own for the Auxilia, which is
hilarious.
But it is the Shadow Sword. I've loved the Shadow Sword ever since it was first unveiled for 40k many years ago. For the Space Marines, it's the Storm Eagle. The Storm Eagle gunship. Mainly because it just reminds me of the clone dropships from Star Wars. And I just, recreating that scene in my games, just, I love it. Absolutely love it. Hence why I have several. And then in terms of Knights is a weird one because I've fallen in love with all of them. Literally all of them. There's not a Knight I don't like. All the Cerastus variants, all the Questorius variants, all of the Armiger variants, even the Castus variants, I love them. If I had to choose one, it would probably be the Castigator, which is the Cerastus with the sword and the bolter, because I just like the flexibility of it.
Just to jump off the back of that, the knight model that makes me want to play knights is the Lancer.
The Lancers are awesome.
And it's just, it's like, we took the idea of knight and we just distilled it down into its purest form of shield, spear, go.
Lance, obviously.
Lance, sorry, yes. Shield, they used to do jousting, and just the idea of the idea of 2 knights doing jousting, but with the actual the knight lancer is just, I need a diorama of that. I need to see somebody do the whole going across the barrier in between and just two guys in these knights charging each other.
That would be very cool. Honestly, it is very close to one of the top ones for me. But when I take a step back a little bit and I think about it, I prefer the mod as like armies. I don't like a one note, and that is very much a combat knight. So as much as it's very cool and I love it, I'm always going to lean slightly more to one that's a bit more hybrid.
You want a Swiss Army knife as opposed to a machete.
Yes. But I can totally understand why the Lancer would be a top pick, because it is just a gorgeous model.
Oh, it's pure aesthetics. I'm looking at it from absolutely pure aesthetics.
In terms of pure aesthetics, I would probably say you're right in the fact that the Lancer is probably the most aesthetically pleasing.
Yeah, but that's because I come from a perspective of aesthetics. I'm like, what looks the best, in my opinion.
Okay, cool. Now, in terms of, we've already discussed kit bashing Legions, and we've already discussed that that's quite hard to do. And how do we go about making an army feel like our army? So, because normally in say 28 mil gaming, there is if you're into making an army feel unique, feel personal, there's a lot of scope for conversions, whether that's hand sculpting, kit bashing, digi bashing with 3D printed parts, whatever it happens to be. There is obviously just painting styles, and I think what's quite interesting for most of our armies, I don't know about most, to be fair, considering how many I have, but quite a few of our armies are based on lore armies or factions from the lore. So how do we make those armies at Legion scale, ours, make them unique?
You come up with the next generation Comrade Curse like I'm doing. No, I'm joking.
But that is very much what you are doing.
Yeah, just in a much more twisted way. But, that helps with playing Night Lords, so it doesn't really matter. But I think what it's about, as when it comes to making it your own, I think what it's about is finding, it doesn't have to be like the army as a whole, I don't think. I think you just need to find something, like one thing in the army that you can connect to and then build from that, because that one thing can then blossom into like a group of things, and then it covers like your army as a whole. Like for me, it was making a character that resembled another character, so that when we decided to bring Primarchs into it, it then created that angst, that connection with the army as a whole. And I mean, Night Lords fight within themselves all the time, so it's not like it's out of character or anything. And that made it a lot easier for me to then want to play that army, because I had that going on for me. I hope that makes sense. Does it make sense?
Yeah, so for you, it was the hook. You needed a narrative hook or something like that to sort of bring it into. So, but how do you get that across? How do you get that across in your army?
That's interesting.
Shall I tell you? Because I've done it for you, obviously.
Yeah, go on then.
So, what we've done with your army to sort of make them your own, okay, is one, we've got you a custom model, a tiny little ditty custom commander to go on one of your commander bases. Okay?
Yeah.
So you've got your narrative hook in there. You've got your custom character, which we're going to do on a slightly nicer base. We'll probably do a little bit of extra modelling on it, because we haven't done that with most of your army, but with this one we'll do a little bit more, make them stand out a bit.
Yeah.
Which is what we'll do with Comrade as well, because it's a Primarch.
Yeah.
But what's quite key as well with the way that we've actually painted your Night Lords army is there's a theme to the way it's been painted. So the infantry have a specific scheme or method we've done to show that they're Night Lords from a glance, which is the easy red on one side, just to get that red colour in. The rest of the body is obviously the midnight blue, and then we've got the odd lightning bolt here and there on specific models in specific ways, so it all marries in.
Yeah.
We've carried that across into the vehicles, so certain panels have got the red accents. And then with the dreadnoughts, because they're sort of the hybrid between vehicle and infantry, they've got a mixture of things where they've got decals on them, a bit like the tanks have, but they also have one red shoulder pad and some lightning bolts. So you can kind of see the progression as you move through the army of what is what, and there's like a painting hook between them.
Yeah.
Okay.
That makes sense.
John, Got any thoughts?
So I think for me at least, and I haven't started this particular kind of process yet, but I know where I'm going to be taking it. So I'll talk more from this is where it's going. I first of all, I very much like stuff to be lore accurate. It was just briefly going, away from Legions just for a second, but why I wanted to do the pivot in armies that I was doing for proper, for 32mm, 28mm, big hammer, as I keep referring to it, as opposed to small hammer, which is what we play. But I struggled with Death Watch as a faction because I was like, why would they be fighting anything other than Xenos? So I wanted something where it made narrative sense. And then when it comes to painting them, I want to do them in that same kind of way. So there's less an element of how I'm going to paint the Dark Angels to be kind of my own. I could have, I could have instead gone down the route of, I'm going to do them as my own successor chapter of Dark Angels, but actually I wanted to do them as Dark Angels. So it means that when it comes to how am I going to kind of get across, make them my own, have my own identity to them. From my end, that's definitely going to come across more in the way that I'm going to be basing them. So I kind of want to be have almost kind of a little, this is a squad. Yes, they're painted up in the very much kind of the colors of the Dark Angels, but have a little character come across in that squad. Each base should be its own little squad that has a kind of a story about them that says it. I've got one that due to essentially errors in it being built, one of my sergeants has got, he's there, he's got his kind of power fist off to one side, and he's pointing, and it's meant to be him pointing with a pistol, but it broke. So it's now going to be him with this bloody stump of an arm, and just being I'm still going, we're going over there, I'm going to point with the thing that I've got left. And it would kind of that aspect of it is the kind of the unique thing that I feel is available with Legions is you have a base and a bunch of models with the opportunity to then tell a story, a small snapshot narrative on that base.
That's my favorite thing about it. Is what you just described is my favorite thing about Legions overall.
Yeah,
is the fact that you can literally create anything you want within your army, because it's it's such a broad spectrum. As a writer, it's when you're a kid and you have an ice cream sundae for the first time and you discover all of the chocolate sauce has gone right to the bottom. It's finding that it's that level of you're laughing, but you agree with me. I know you do.
I just love the way that analogy formed. I was like, okay, where is this? It starts off with the chocolate. It starts with the ice cream sundae. I'm like, where is this going? But I know what you mean.
You know what I mean, right? I don't know. But yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's definitely how I'm going to be getting it across, and having the kind of the trend that the plan that I've got in terms of kind of transitions in terms of painting, and where I want things to kind of come across is again kind of very much leaning down that route of okay, how am I going to represent the kind of different wings in there, and so I'm all my rhinos are going to be painted up in that kind of that typical green, but because I'm going to be using my land raiders to transport dreadnoughts, they're going to be done up in that bone armor. That kind of that white bony kind of
transport dreadnoughts.
Terminators. I said dreadnoughts because it's a tactical dreadnought armor. I was just shortening it in a different way.
Yeah.
Terminators can deep strike though. Why wouldn't you just deep strike them?
Because then you get land raiders and terminators. there's. I was gonna give it a go to see kind of how it came out, and it also just shows kind of veterancy as well. Like I might use them for other things, like stuff that can't deep strike. That if when we do our rules for melee focused units to charge up the board, I can fill like standard Marines that are in melee with inside of a Land Raider and pour them out that way. So yeah, it's very much kind of like. I want to get across a level of lore accuracy, because that is, in terms of aesthetics and in terms of painting, is what I kind of want to see. And I also feel like, funnily enough, by comparison to how I feel most Legions, Dark Angels armies are going to be painted, mine will at least stand out.
Yes.
Because most are going to be painted in Heresy colours.
They will be, yeah.
And I'm going to rock up with not Heresy colours.
Yeah, and it'll be perfectly fine.
Yep. What about you?
Well, so you kind of touched on a few things anyway that I not only agree with, but I have done, like creating like these little dioramas on a base, which you'll notice if you look at any of my infantry, they're all in poses. I've got guys that look like they're marching in a file, moving down the base, and the guys off the side shooting. I've got, on one of my flamer bases, they're all back to back, firing outwards. So I've done things like that. But I think what I'll touch on is when you have an army that's not just one faction, so like mine, with all your various factions, the way you tie those together, to me, you can tie them in with colour schemes, which is one method. Not a personal favourite of mine, because I like to have different colours for the different factions, because I also think they look cool. I think they look more impressive when you put them together. A bit like how how the Dark Angels look so good, because you've got the three wings. And you've got those three factions. I apply the same, but to a faction level. So in order to achieve the result of making them still feel uniform while still very different aesthetically, is bases. Get a uniform base style together and follow that through across everything. So every single one of my armies not only uses the exact same basic materials, but has the same colour palette, same colour scheme, same method of basing them as well. So I have like little trinkets and stuff that I put on the bases. I sometimes try and place them to match where I'm placing the models and stuff, so it kind of looks like they're meant to be there. And that just kind of carries across all of them. So you can put my Titans next to my Astartes, next to my Auxilia, next to my Knights, and you can see at an instant they're clearly on the same battlefield. They are clearly supposed to be there together.
I think the other nice thing that you can do, especially with Legions, to do what you're doing there, is chuck some extra models on that base. Have some infantry at the foot of a Titan that show, this Titan runs with this infantry, because you've got plenty of space under that Titan to fit stuff in.
No, there is certainly a lot of space on some of those bases.
Or with the Titans where they've got like the like little guardrails that kind of run along the side, just like sticking an infantry up there, firing off the edge.
Yeah, you could do that. It would look quite cool.
Or just like an infantry, just kind of like or like a commander who's like going around to discuss tactics, and they've gone onto onto that Titan. There's because that is actually a recurring thing that keeps happening in the Helbrecht book. No, Hellsreach. Sorry, Hellsreach book. Where Grimaldus goes and like talks to the Titan Princept. And then there's another bit where this Titan is like being besieged by orcs, and they like aerial drop onto the back. It's an Imperator Titan. They like land in a church that's on the back of this Titan, and just like the idea on like at Legion scale, because you can go and be like, I'm just going to stick a dude on that model, and you just have like extra infantry.
Did you know, John, that until about think it was a few weeks ago, I had no idea that people were inside of a Titan. I swear to God, until Jamie pointed it out to me, I genuinely thought that they were just robots.
AI robots.
I had no idea that people lived in them. I have no idea that people
abominable
operated
intelligences.
them. I thought that they were completely just AI. Jamie turns around to me and says, "Oh, well, yeah, you got to think about, there's people in there." I'm like, huh?
There is.
I was like, no, there's not. They're just robots. He's like, no, darling, no, they're not. They're not. Sorry to do burst your bubble, love, but no, they're not. And I'm like,
in that voice too.
Yeah.
I was like, no way. And he was like, oh, yeah, but remember, the animation on Warhammer Plus. I was like, no, my brain was boggled, mind blown. Sorry.
There is going back to that the Hell's Reach book. There is a story though of this Imperator Titan, and there is a priest that has never left the Titan. Like, they have lived their entire life on a church on the back of this Titan. That is all they've ever known in their life, because it's a big enough church that they've just lived in it. That's all they've ever known. So there's a whole bit where they finally actually leave the Titan for the first time as it's walking. Like, they're like, I can't be dealing with this. I need to leave. So they essentially have to escape a Titan whilst it is still walking, which is and going through all the layers, and there's just all these Mechanicus and servitors living inside this Titan's leg as they make their way down from the top. Yeah, it's a proper little. It's just a small collection of people living inside of it.
Yeah.
Mind blown. Okay.
Well, I'll tell you what. So let's move on to the sort of the next semi-last main section, really, which is.
Sorry, I'm just trying to process that statement.
It's not quite the last section, but it is the last section where we're going to be discussing.
Yeah.
So let's have a glimpse into the future of what we'd like to do. What's another army we would love to do in the future? What is our dream army? Now, our dream army might be to just make the current armies we've got absolutely colossal. Hint, that's what I've said in the previous podcast. But if you were to make another army, what would it be? Who wants to go first?
Okay.
Oh, John, you're volunteering. Cool.
I will volunteer. So, I'm going to add the biggest preface to this of, I'm going to say it, and I'm not going to do it. Okay.
Okay, you've now said that, and that will be uploaded to YouTube. So if you break this, you are going to look terrible.
I'm not going to break it, because actually there is a lot of work that we need to go into this, and I'm hoping that maybe we see this arrive at some point in the future. I have my doubts. What I would, and this is going to be a weird comment, at a epic, if I was to be I can snap my fingers and I can just have this army made for me. Yeah. It would be Tau at the scale. It would be, because I would have the Manta, I would have the Orca, I would have big Tau stompy mechs, something that's bigger than a Taunar, because a Taunar isn't actually that big, but something, imagine taking each of your scales of the the Titans and doing equivalent sized Tau mechs going all the way up. It would be a very mech heavy force. I'm definitely on I like the robot side of the Tau less than all the auxiliaries, but the auxiliaries are fun, but I'm definitely I like the robot-y bits.
It's funny you say that, because I love the idea of Tau, and I'd love in theory to have an army of Tau. But the thing I love about Tau is the concept of the auxiliaries. And that's also the reason why I'd never do it. Because of the amount of painting that would be required. And I would kit bash so many different aliens. I would just spend, like, every unit would just be a different alien.
Yeah.
Just for the fun of it.
Absolutely. Like that is, yeah, that would be, if I could be like, here is instantly an army for you, that would be, it would be between either, from an asexy perspective, it would either be Tau or maybe Eldar, but I'd probably want to go down like the route of like the aspect warriors to have like all the different aspect warriors being shown off. And yeah, I think that's it. But I Tau is the one that sticks in the brain of, I would just like to see. It's the Manta. It's like a Manta with orcas, and like that whole kind of idea is actually why I would want it, especially at like a Legion scale, where you could justify a Manta or a couple of Mantas.
Okay, cool.
So, yeah.
Els, what would be your dream army if you were to make another army?
Another army. I mean, I think anybody who's watched us since the beginning is probably waiting for me to say, oh, Space Wolves. But I honestly, I wouldn't. I think at this scale, I think Space Wolves would be very interesting, and I'd have to have very, very, like, they'd have to be very Cyber Wolf heavy, and that just, although I would love to see a miniature version of Lehman Russ, that would be pretty cool. But I don't think I would do them. I don't think I would really go loyalist. I think if I was going to do anything loyalist, I would probably love to do Krieg at this scale, especially the deceased horses. What are they called?
I mean, they're not deceased horses, but they are.
Well, they're like living dead, aren't they? Basically,
no, they're not.
Zombie.
They're not.
No. Oh, okay.
They're just genetically modified horses. They happen to be called the Death Riders.
That's what I was trying. Yeah, okay.
But it's not because the horses are dead; it's because they kill stuff.
Whatever. Yeah, I think if I was going to do anything loyalist, I would love to do Krieg, because they are another upcoming obsession of mine, is their whole concept. It just fascinates me, and then like their lore is amazing. So I think if I was going to do a loyalist, it would probably be them or Blood Angels, because I would love to have a mini Sanguinius. Who wouldn't want to have a mini Sanguinius? That sounds amazing. Or it would be Ultramarines. But as far as actually a dream army goes, I think it would just be a colossal Night Lords army. And I mean, like,
yeah. My whole point at the beginning was don't say that, because we already.
Oh, I know.
So we're going with Deathcore.
Yeah, I think the dream would probably be to have a Death Corp army, cool, and then twist their lore and then merge the two armies together so that it's like a juxtaposition. It's like two of the Emperor's most powerful allies both turned on him and joined up together. I think that's pretty swag.
So for some inexplicable reason, your dream army is a Chaos Krieg.
Yeah. Yeah.
At Legion scale could be... Yeah. Right, I'm going to say this right now. So it's on YouTube. If you decide to do Krieg, at any scale, pick up your own paintbrush. Because there is no way on earth I am painting Krieg at any scale.
Hey, John, how do you feel about painting Krieg at Legion scale?
I'm trying to work out why you're so averse to Krieg, actually. Hold on.
Look at the amount of detail in those models.
What colour Krieg?
Any of them. Look at the details on them. It's not even the colours that's the problem, it's the details. And then the sheer numbers you would need. You know,
I mean, if they teamed up with Night Lords, it'd have to be Midnight Blue.
it's
Obviously.
the colours aren't the problem, it's the number and the details required. Like, paint, even at Legion scale, I'm not painting gas masks on models that small.
The gas masks are... I'm just trying to be like, could you paint the gas masks at the same, in the same stroke as the everything else? But I'm like, no. Elle, how about we just pivot this one into the Steel Legion instead?
Still refusing to do that as well.
The
You can do
what?
that.
I was like, yeah, they've still got separate gas masks for everything else. Yeah, okay.
Hey John, you want to take on the job? You go for it, mate. But me, nah. I draw the line here.
Tiny gas mask. Yeah, no, that's quite a lot.
You can stick with Night Lords.
I like a 40k scale.
No, even
A kill team
worse.
scale.
Kill team, I'd think about it, and even then, I still wouldn't be convinced. No.
Okay. What about you, Jamie?
Well, there is one army that I've always wanted. From the halcyon days of my youth, there has been one army that I've always wanted but could never bring myself to do because the prospect of painting it terrifies me to my core. But I would love it because I'd go absolutely mental with it.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a kit basher's dream and it's hilarious what you can do with it.
I'm trying to guess. I
would role play it.
Because I feel like you've had most armies, so I'm just like, what would you have?
There's one big army that I have never touched.
I know what it is. I'm not saying a word. I'm not saying a word.
Would that army have a lot of things?
It would have a lot of things.
Is it
It is a Xenos faction.
Would it be
Come on, John.
Would it be pretty nibbly?
Not quite, no. I would love that army, but not as much as this one.
Okay, so
because Tyranids, I actually would be okay painting.
Yeah, you'd be okay painting Tyranids.
All I will say, right, is...
No, you'll give it away. I know.
No. I'm not going to give it away at all because I want him to guess it. If he... Just remember what he said. He would roleplay it. I would hate it.
Yeah, I told you you'd give it away.
No, but it's not giving it away.
Yes, it is.
Now, in all fairness, I got it not from the you would hate it. I got it from you would roleplay it. I just needed to remind myself of all of the Xenos factions. That was the quick thing of just being like, what am I forgetting Xenos wise? And I'm like, of course that's what you do, and of course it's a kit basher's dream. Because it's the boys.
Yeah, it's the Orcs.
It's the boys.
Whoa! Oh, honestly, I would love to do Orcs. I would love it so much. Because I could embody it. I could embody the Orc.
But you would never.
No, I have seen some Legion scale prints for orcs, and honestly, I would love to. Absolutely love to, because I could do all sorts of crazy things. And I could still have Knights and Titans, because orcs.
Looted.
Yeah.
Looted Titans.
And I could have great fun kit bashing the absolute living daylights out of it. But painting it just terrifies me. Like, you've got leathers, you've got metals, you've got skin tones everywhere. Every time you do a conversion, you've got to do a dirty version of a clean thing. If someone painted it for me, I'd be like, right, here's all the money, get me all the points, and I'll play it. But I just can't. I just can't paint it.
Yeah, they're like orcs. Orcs do like. Yeah, they're very much. I have very much the same like thought process of like, yes, but also I don't like.
Because don't forget, also it's numbers as well, isn't it?
It's numbers. You need the green tide.
You need, but even their vehicles, they're in numbers because they're ramshackle tin buckets. It's not like I'm going to rock up with a Leman Russ. I will rock up with a Leman Russ. Problem is, it's got a hole in the back.
Yeah, like they are absolutely like the perfect kit bashing force.
Yeah, I mean, you know I love kit bashing. You know I'd spend ages on it. And that's the problem. I'd spend ages kit bashing it to the point where it becomes unpaintable by someone with my limited attention span when it comes to painting. So yeah, as that is my dream army. That's the one I would love, but will probably never have.
Yeah.
Here's your tiny violin.
Imagine a tiny goth rocker.
Oh my god.
Jamie, you like the idea has just been like.
You know what? If you want to see Jamie build and paint a Legion scale the orc army, subscribe.
I'm telling you now, I want 1 million subscribers before I do that.
That's fine. I am making this declaration today. When we get to 1 million subscribers,
when we get to 1 million subscribers, you have to do a Legion scale orc army. Look, if we get 1 million subscribers, sure.
Okay, you had it, guys. Here today, it's declared.
What I'm currently like the lamentations that I'm currently going through is being like, I kind of want you to send me that like a file just so I can try. Like that's the worst part is I'm thinking about it being like, kind of want to try. I'm like, how bad is it? That's the real question. Is like, okay, how bad would it be?
Leathers, metals, skins.
It's the Legion scale bit that's the horrifying one.
Yeah, I mean, even 40k scale, they're just to do them justice, they're just too much. Like the kits are gorgeous, but like the Commandos kit for Kill Team, which you're familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a lovely kit. I'd love to have it, but just the concept of sitting there painting that, just no. Just don't want to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah, there we go.
I kind of want to try. I hate that I want to try.
Hey, well, I tell you what, if you try it and decide you like doing it, I'll make and kit bash a load of models. You can paint it.
I'm not sure how I feel about this. I'm not sure what I'm signing myself up for. Definitely, but I did that.
I'll paint your Dark Angels then.
There's just the part of my brain
just do a swap.
There's just the part of my brain that's just latched onto this idea of being like, I kind of want to try, but I don't know whether I like this part of my brain that's like, hey, there's this really impossible challenge that's been issued. I'm like, yeah, but what if we did?
It would have to be a team effort because there's no way I could do it on my own.
That's definitely a conversation for later. But, Anyway.
Yes, anyway. Right. So, that's the dream. Or the dreams.
Yes.
So, I want to sort of finish off the main body of our discussion by sort of asking you guys who are watching this to actually please do go into our comments and tell us what's inspired you to build and paint your army. And if you haven't painted it yet, that's fine. But what's inspired you to pick up the box? What is the reason you're doing what you're doing? And share it with everybody, because as we've seen with just us three, there's quite a few different things that have drawn us into an army. And a few things that have inspired us to continue or change. And I don't think there's a wrong answer for what makes you do it, so long as what makes you do it results in something that you're happy with. Whether that's a painted army that you're just displaying, or an army of grey plastic that you're marching across the table and having fun with. I would always argue that a painted army, even badly painted, is better than grey. But if that's what you enjoy, and you only enjoy playing the game, then fair enough. We're a little bit hamstrung because we have a channel we've got to show stuff off, so we kind of have to paint it regardless.
Yeah.
But yeah, so please do share what you've done, why you've done it. The key really is why, not what, but why. What drew you in? Okay. So, with that being said, I think it is probably time to round up and finish off today's episode. And welcome back, and welcome to the final section. Okay, our round table, which currently we're not sat at tables necessarily, mostly desks.
I'm in bed.
You're in bed, that's even worse. Yeah. So, what we've done today is we've had a little gander at some hobby progress, looking at some cool new terrain, some funky new kill team models, and the glimmer of hope for a Legions army.
Yeah. Come on, John. We know you can do it.
I'm feeling good about this one.
I mean, we're praying to the Emperor. We're praying to the Chaos Gods at this point. We're running out of gods to pray to. We might start going to Eldari at this rate.
No, it's clearly Gork and Mork.
Wow. Which nicely segues us into our previous discussion topics of what makes us interested in an army, what we're interested in, what draws us in, what pushes us onto new things. And we also discussed, as we've kind of hinted at there with the whole Gork and Walk thing, what armies we'd like to do in the future, or what we wish we could do. So obviously I mentioned that I would love to do an Orc army. John would love to see a Tau army on the table. And Els would like to see a Chaos Death Corps of Krieg, which is very left field, but, could look quite cool.
I think I'm going to upset some people with that, and I don't care.
Probably. But beyond that, what we actually sort of, we were looking at sort of was where we had come from, what armies we have, and what we're working on. We've also had a sort of a discussion about the key aspects of what makes us choose an army, whether that is gameplay, whether it's the lore, or whether it's the aesthetics, so painting or kit bashing and stuff like that, and how that impacts our choices. And we all have a slight different take on what's more important for us, a bit like the sort of the personality matrix for the type of gamer you are. I can't remember what it's called. John, you'll probably know what I'm talking about.
The psychometrics of magic.
Yeah, so something like that, but where we sort of fall on a scale of how important is gameplay, how important is the aesthetic, and how important is the lore for our decision-making process. And I think ours is like topping out the lore end. Like, this is the big important bit. John, you're definitely in the sort of lore painting spectrum.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm probably closer to the middle, because I kind of pick on all three. But I'm probably the painting probably is a little bit lower, but then I cheat because I try and paint quicker and efficiently. So possibly more gameplay and lore versus painting, but I think I'm a little bit more balanced potentially. So those are, where do you fall on that spectrum? You know, and what is it that brought you in? And we also discussed a few things that, you know, we also talked about like the individual models that actually inspired us to do armies and stuff like that, which was quite interesting that one model could potentially inspire you to do an army. Like in my case, it was literally painting one Titan, and that changed everything.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, what I'd like to do is I'd like to ask you both to present one thought or tip that you would give someone who's starting Legions about what army to pick.
If I was to repeat the process that I have gone through and start again, my starting point would be to, if somebody was turning around and going, they want to pick Marines, or they actually, no, regardless of what they want to pick, is try a bunch of different things to paint. Like, try painting a bunch of different things and then see what you enjoy from that. Because at the end of the day, a big part of what this is painting. It's one of the core parts of the hobby is, you know, kind of going through and doing that painting. I would get a bunch of different things, try a bunch of different paint schemes, and find one that you like doing before you overcommit. Because that was the problem that I had, was I overcommitted in one direction before I'd actually tried it properly. That'd be my tip.
Okay. Els, have you got a tip?
I would probably pick something that you're gonna enjoy, but that's also a little bit of a challenge for yourself. I feel like if you excuse me, I feel like if you push yourself that little bit to connect with the game, and you have that kind of like, you know, that little push to, like, you know, I hope I'm making some sense. I just feel like, in my experience as somebody who is out of all of us, like, the newest to the game as a whole, it's been a lot more beneficial for me to have that little bit of like a kick to, like, push myself that little bit further, in order to, like, it's helped me enjoy the game more if I feel like there's more of a challenge. And just pick something that you enjoy, you know, pick something that you think is fun, because that's the main thing about it, is, you know, to have fun. So don't pick something that is going to be, that you feel like is going to be a chore, because then there's no point in playing the game if you feel like it's a job, if that makes any sense.
Exactly why I haven't started trying to make it all army.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, right. Well, I will sort of I'm going to build on the 2 tips that you've had, really, and I'm going to say my top tip really is actually a result of what we've already spoke about in this video, okay? And that is actually grabbing that triangle, that lore, gameplay, aesthetics triangle, and find out and really think about where you sit on that spectrum. What is most important to you? Because you can't identify what you are going to enjoy until you know what part of the hobby is most important to you. So if you go into this and you say, right, I am absolutely a lore fanatic, then the army you're going to pick is going to be the one you enjoyed reading about the most.
Yeah.
If you're a massive painting fan, you need to look at the armies that are going to give you the most challenge or enjoyment in painting. I mean, you might enjoy speed painting, in which case you want to pick an army that's really quick to paint. You might really enjoy super high detail. So you might want to pick something like a Titan where you can go crazy and do all sorts of freehand on the panels. Or if you're a gameplay fanatic, then you need to realise, right, cool, most important thing to me is gameplay, so what I should be doing is I should be going in and trying every army as best I can, however I can, even if it's just with paper and tokens on table, just to try out the different armies and get a feel for what works for me.
Yeah.
So my top tip to you is find out who you are as a gamer, as a hobbyist, and make your decision from there. Because I think that is key. Okay?
Yeah, I think you knocked it on the head there, yeah.
So, and, I'm just saying this video, if you haven't watched the whole of it for whatever reason, go back and watch it because that's exactly what we discussed. But if someone you know is struggling with that thing and you think this video might help them, please share it with them because it might help them make that decision and bring them into the hobby. So, and that's what we want to do. We want to bring more people in.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's our top tips. That is our discussion from today. So the only thing really left to do is to remind you all to get in contact with us and support us in the comments section. Give us constructive criticism if you think there's stuff we can improve on. Provide us with your examples of what got you into your army or armies, or will get you into the next one. And also, please send us shots of your armies or your progress, and we will share it with everybody else. Because we want to build a community where we are sharing and bringing each other up and showing off what we can do. Because also, at the moment, while we're focusing on Legions, we're quite a niche community. Let's make that less niche by making it fun and showing off what it can be.
Yeah.
So, if you'd like to do any of that, and you'd like to continue to support what we're doing here, you can obviously subscribe, like our video, and share it. I cannot underemphasize sharing this video with people, okay? Because that is the best way to circumvent an algorithm, is traditional word of mouth. Share it with your community, share it with your friends. But if you want a quicker way of doing stuff, obviously there is our socials, which you can follow us on and communicate with us and send us stuff as well. Okay, so we are on Instagram, we're on Facebook, we're on TikTok. We are also on Twitch. Twitch streaming has scaled back down at the moment just because of things going on behind the scenes, but they will be there here and there. So do keep an eye out. We will be on. And once things settle down, we will be back to our sort of regularly scheduled streaming sessions. But do keep in mind that at the moment they are going to be a bit hit and miss. All right. But other than that, thank you very much for joining us. I have been Jay here at Mead Gaming, and I've been joined by
John.
Elle.
Thank you very much once again, and we will see you next time in the Mead Hall. Goodbye for now.
See you next time.
Bye.